Hey yo, Grapperinos, it's the bad guy, Scott Hall here, and welcome to another episode. That is the intro.
Do you want me? Do you want me to save? Do you want me to save for life or something?
Well, there, I kind of missed that he was in the NWO, and he said for life. I I
That
thought
was
he was
like
the AO.
his whole thing in WCW, Brian.
Well, I don't know that much about WCW, so
That's true.
maybe
You are talking to the number one WCW mark
yes.
in North America, so you know,
Hold
true.
on. Maybe we should have a show where I ask you questions about WCW.
My WCW knowledge comes exclusively from wrestling bios, PWA, and wrestling with regret. That's where my WCW knowledge comes from, and also watching WCW the YouTube channel, which you should go watch, by the way. They put up.
Absolutely.
I think it's probably because of the vault getting taken down because they're moving all of their content to Netflix. WCW, they released the entire WCW vault to YouTube. So there's full episodes of Nitro, full episodes of Thunder, full pay-per-views that are available on YouTube ad-free. Really cool of them to do that. That's something that, like, if you wanted to watch a specific episode of Nitro, you either had to pay for the vault or you could have to go track it down, but now it's just on YouTube. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely
Pretty
agree.
cool.
You can get some pretty cool gems like the bad guy Razor Ramon, or as I call him, Ska Hall, and Kevin Nash, and
Watch
Hollywood Hulk
David
Hogan.
Arquette winning the title.
Shut up! Well, anyway, welcome to, I guess, another brand new show, which is kind of like the other that we have on the Grapperinos YouTube channel, which is called Probably Next Week on Smackdown. So we did a show called Probably Next Week on Raw. This is kind of the same concept, only this time we are covering the blue brand of the WWE world, which is SmackDown. I am, of course, Brian, and the guy who just praised WCW is the guy who thinks Disco Inferno is pretty cool. Mike, say hi.
Hello. Yeah. I'm ready to predict SmackDown. I was going through the roster, and there's a lot of injuries on SmackDown. The roster is quite limited
Yeah.
because you have all you have the both Tongaloa and Tamatonga, which, by the way, sound like some foreign biscuit brand. You know, like if you go to like the Philippines, it sounds like a brand of biscuit. You know, Tamatonga and Tongaloa. But that's racist. No, it isn't.
I kind of agree with the SmackDown roster being thin, kind of limited. I guess it's kind
That
of the same.
also, yeah, they're injured, and Kevin Owens is also injured. So that's like two mid card, like a mid card tag team, and like a main eventer that are already down. So they're kind of limited in terms of the talent they have right now.
Would you say that's kind of why SmackDown is boring right now?
Probably, I mean, like the only thing they really have going for them is John Cena, and I think they're all in on that, and they don't have much else building up around the rest of the show.
But what
But
about
we'll see. We'll see how we book this week.
but what about the Bloodline and Solo and the other guys? You know, that's
That could be
interesting.
interesting. Yeah,
Could be,
we'll
yeah.
see.
Well, for those of you who think this is probably the first video on the channel, it's not. You should probably watch probably next week on Raw because it's essentially the same rules and the same point system, although we have changed some stuff around this time, and all that is going to evolve over the course of these two shows. So maybe we should introduce those rules and point system. So the rules of our booking, it's basically us trying to predict SmackDown like we did on probably next week on Raw, and it is the same rules as over there. We can use active superstars only on SmackDown, no crossover with those on Raw. Non-active wrestlers can be used within the realm of possibility. So, for example, we can use Goldberg, but we cannot use, oh, I don't know, Ric Flair or something, because I don't think Ric Flair can deliver another match that is pretty good in our lifetime. So, but I could be wrong. Our booking can also include announced matches, or has to, I should say, for the next episode of SmackDown, including our predictions for who is going to win and how that person is going to win. And our booking can use any valid stipulation for any match that we book for the show, aside from the announced matches. After we do our bookings in the show, we are going to watch the next episode of SmackDown, and we are going to score our predictions based on the following point system. And this is a bit different from the last time that we did this. So, for matches, it's 1 point for the people that are competing, 1 point for who won and how. Pinfall, DQ, submission. We just want to simplify the finish instead of just being like, this guy pins the other guy and that guy wins. We want to sort of generalize it for the ease of scoring. And 1 point for stipulation. For promos, we want to have half a point for each person that's coming out, and 1 point if that person comes out in the right segment. So, for example, if either one of us predicts that Solo Sikoa would cut a promo and it does happen, then we each get 1 point. And there would be 1 point for the topic that that person is going to speak about. So, for example, if Solo Sikoa comes out and speaks about how he loves Jeff Cobb and that happens, then obviously it will count as 1 point. And of course, we have the 1 point for correct order of segments throughout the show, and anything announced after the video comes out counts towards the score. However, backstage segments do not count, including those that we book. So if we book something that is a backstage segment but is a promo segment in our booking, then of course it does not count to the score. There are no announced matches. I tried looking around and there are no announced matches for SmackDown, so we are booking fresh from our mind.
I think we need to do down a date where we book Raw, but it's kind of hard because the distance between SmackDown ending and Raw beginning is very short as compared to Raw ending and SmackDown beginning. So I think we're just going to have to roll with matches will be announced for Raw, but probably not for SmackDown, just because of how long the distance is between the two shows.
Well, the thing is with announced matches, right? Sometimes they would announce these matches on SmackDown on the show itself. So, for example, later on in the show, they'll say something like, "Oh, next week these two are going to wrestle, and next week there will be a tag team match." Stuff like that. In this case, there wasn't anything announced, as far as I know, for the next episode of SmackDown. So I guess we're gonna have to roll with the punches and try to make SmackDown interesting this week, because, as we said earlier, SmackDown is kind of boring right now. So, with that said, let's book this thing, starting with my version of SmackDown. John Cena, or as some people call him, John Cena. John Cena comes out to the ring. He does the same old song dance. Rah, rah, rah. I hate the fans. Rah, rah, rah. Your childhood is dead. I killed your childhood. Rah, rah, rah. I am the last real champion, etc. And then R-Truth comes in talking about how John Cena is his childhood hero, and he explains what has been done to him at Backlash, and he demands an answer from John Cena as to why that was being done, because he is his childhood hero. And we have Randy Orton come out and try to get something out of R-Truth in terms of why R-Truth kind of screwed him. As you may know, on Backlash, R-Truth kind of came in and screwed Randy Orton from him hitting that RKO or punt kick. He sort of interrupted him by jumping in front of him and defending John Cena a bit, which angered Orton. And so that sort of happened. And Randy Orton wants an explanation from R-Truth in terms of why R-Truth screwed him over. And R-Truth starts getting confused. I want to have it so that R-Truth is kind of paranoid and he doesn't know what Randy Orton is talking about because he's so concerned about like John Cena and him being his childhood hero. So Archer starts getting confused and he starts pushing Orton, and Randy Orton, well, he can't really do that much about it, but all he has to do is give in to his voices and RKO, good old R-Truth, which sets up the main event for the evening, which is R-Truth versus Randy Orton. And that, I will say, is that this will be a thing throughout the show where we're going to try to build up Saturday night's main event where John Cena goes one-on-one or Truth, because that is obviously what they are building towards. So we're going to try to make the build as interesting as possible. Next, we have a match between Naomi and Tiffany Stratton, and this match will be used to build up Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax as Saturday night's main event. And I'm going to have Tiffany win here. She's going to pin Naomi despite interference from Nia Jax. And after the match, Nia attacks Tiffany and goes on top, which sort of builds to their match. And that is what I will say for that. Naomi can probably go continue her storyline with Jade because I guess it's not over. And that is what I will say about that. Next is the Money in the Bank, because apparently they announced that Money in the Bank qualifying matches will start on SmackDown this Friday instead of next week, I think. So, unless I misheard, that is the plan that they're going for. So, I'm gonna have to book a Money in the Bank qualifying match for the men and the women. And we will start with the men here as Aleister Black goes up against Solo Sikoa and Shinsuke Nakamura. And I'm gonna have Solo win here by him pinning Shinsuke because no one cares about Shinsuke right now. So might as well have him eat the pin. We will have Jeff Cobb interfere in this match, and I don't think that they think they will push Alistair through the Money in the Bank qualifying matches, have him go to Money in the Bank as a competitor, because I think it's too early, and they'd rather have him go into a mid-card feud or another sort of lower card feud with someone other than The Miz and Carmelo Hayes. So might as well just do that instead of putting him into Money in the Bank. But who knows? I could be wrong. But I'm gonna have Solo win here with Jeff Cobb's help. And after that, we're gonna have Jacob Fatu enter into the ring to cut his good old fashioned promo. And we're gonna start off with Jacob Fatu arguing with Solo about Jeff Cobb. He's basically gonna say, why do we need Jeff Cobb? Why is he needed when I can win by myself? I'm all gas, no brakes, you know what I mean? And Solo replies, do you know how many people are challenging for your title? You got LA Knight, you got Drew McIntyre, you got Damian Priest, you got all these people. You got a target on your back. You need backup. And I am trying to help you by introducing this guy. And Jacob says, I don't need backup. And he starts walking away. They sort of argue for a while, but we're gonna have Jacob Fatu walk away here. But as Jacob Fatu walks away from Solo and Jeff Cobb, we have LA Knight, Drew McIntyre, and Damian Priest all come out and they all brawl. Because I think that WWE will keep these people in title contention for the US Championship, but we are gonna have Jacob Fatu come out on top of the brawl because he is kind of a badass. So there you go. But we're gonna see him visibly. I will say it might seem like he's weakened a bit, and then we have Ray Phoenix come out and say he wants Jacob's title, and he's gonna start to go after Jacob. But before Jacob even tries to get up and lays a punch on Ray Phoenix, we're gonna have Jeff Cobb come in and smack the ever living crap out of Ray Phoenix and give some strong offense, give him like a spotlight spot to help him establish as this really strong guy while Jacob is just watching there on the floor, just lying there. And after that, Jeff is gonna extend his hand to Jacob to help him get up, and Solo whispers in his ear, see, I told you. I told you you need help. So we're gonna establish some tension between Jacob and Jeff, while also establishing Jeff Cobb as a really strong guy who can help Solo. And as you can see on the qualifying match, he did help Solo. So if he can help Solo, he can definitely help Jacob sort of go through his opponent and help him keep the title around his waist. So I think that flow is really cool and helps the show kind of liven up a bit. And we're going to go from that to DIY versus Fraxium. This is because DIY attacked Fraxium and the Motor City Machine Guns on SmackDown last week. So we're gonna have DIY versus Fraxium first, and then Motor City Machine Guns later on. And we're gonna have Fraxium win by pinfall there. We're gonna have the faces win. Don't know if Motor City Machine Guns will try to help here. I think I'm just gonna have Fraxium be this team that sort of doesn't need anyone's help and succeeds by just wrestling really good. And we're gonna go from that to the women's Money in the Bank qualifying match as Candice LeRae takes on Alexa Bliss and Alba Fire. And we're going to have Alexa win here through some Wyatt Sicks shenanigans. I'm going to have the Wyatt Sicks be brought up because I think the reason why they got the Wyatt Sicks out was because one of their members was injured and they wanted to wait until Alexa Bliss is back to restart that whole thing. And I think they're going to restart that during this Money in the Bank qualifying match. I think like they did last year, if I recall correctly. But we're gonna have Alexa Bliss win here by some Wyatt Sicks shenanigans. And she's gonna pin, oh, I don't know, either of these women, but I prefer Alba Fire. And after the match, we're gonna have Chelsea and Piper go up and try to help Alba. And we're just gonna say to her, well, we'll get the Women's US Championship another way as they sort of go back to the backstage thing. After that, we will go to Los Garza versus Carmelo Hayes and The Miz. And I'm not calling them Melo Don't Miz because I don't think WWE has called them that. So I'm just going to call them Carmelo Hayes and The Miz. I have Melo Don't Miz win, or Carmelo Hayes and The Miz. I already broke that. Wow. And we're going to have Los Garza after the match argue with Santos Escobar because they're going to go with Santos and Elektra to the ring for this match. And despite the interference from them, they lose and they argue with Santos, and it's going to end up boiling over, and they're going to walk away from Santos after the match saying, "We're done, it's over, we're not going to go back," and they just walk away. So that is that. We're gonna have the seeds planted for Legado de Fantasma to break up, which sucks because I think they're a talented team. It's just that the booking right now sucks, and I think that's what they're gonna go for. So not that much you can do. Next, I hate this, but I'm gonna have to put Charlotte Flair in the show and have her go up against Michin. Listen, Charlotte Flair does not deserve to be on the top contention for the women's championship. She is not going to cry and moan and complain that she wants to go back on top because she is gonna have to work for it. And we're gonna feed her to the lowest common denominator. Not no offense to Michin, of course, but she's gonna have to work her way up for sure. But since Charlotte Flair wants to win, I'm gonna give her the dub here as she pins Michin successfully and goes on to face another woman. And who knows who that might be. And then, of course, the main event, R-Truth versus Randy Orton. So do you remember in Backlash, or at Backlash, I should say, where something happens, management comes out, Nick Aldis comes out, some shenanigans happens, and Randy Orton gets all mad, and he RKOs them one by one. Well, we're gonna replay that for this main event, and we're gonna have Nick Aldis and management come out as they think Randy Orton is doing something very, very bad, and R-Truth is gonna take advantage of it. He rolls up Randy Orton and wins, and Orton goes mad. He goes berserk. He attacks Nick Aldis and management. He gives him RKOs left, right, and center. And we're going to have R-Truth run away from the chaos. And again, we're going to have John Cena laugh like he did in the beginning of the show when R-Truth and Randy Orton are talking to each other. And this will build up to John Cena versus R-Truth because, in my line of thinking, Randy Orton thinks that R-Truth is being sort of pushed by management and Nick Aldis to sort of screw him over. And this is all part of Cena's plan to sort of screw him over. And it just dawns on him that he has to go after Nick Aldis and management because they keep screwing him over. And of course, I don't want to go through the one last time kind of thing and break it. So I'm gonna have Randy Orton go up against the management and Nick Aldis, and R-Truth is obviously gonna go up against John Cena. I'm gonna, like I said in the beginning, I'm gonna have him be paranoid and he's going to interpret the situation clearly differently than Randy Orton and have him sort of have a thing about little Jimmy or something helping him out to win, and Nick Aldis and management are just referees or something like that. Something about him being just a paranoid face or something like that. So I don't know. I just think that that's pretty cool, and overbooking always gets the crowd popping. So I'm gonna have that happen here. Any questions, Mike? I guess anything that you want to ask, or do you want to go to your part?
So why are you booking Charlotte Flair in like a comeback arc per
Well,
se? I mean, I kind of know why, because we are in Charlotte, so or we're in Greensboro, North Carolina, so there's always going to be that cheap pop you'll get for Flair in North Carolina. But
it's
I'm
because
interested as to why you're booking her in a comeback arc.
it's because I don't want Charlotte to go back to top title contention against what's her name? Tiffany Stratton. Jeez, my brain. I don't want her to go up against Tiffany Stratton or have her be in that contention because there's already too many women there. You got Jade Cargill, you got Nia Jax, you got other names that I'm forgetting. There's too many women in that sort of contention for her to get mixed up in, and I don't want that. And honestly, another reason is, like I said earlier, I just don't like Charlotte. And I'd rather have her work her way up to the top as a heel and try to pin people that people care about And I know Michin, not a lot of, fans don't gravitate towards Michin, but we're gonna work our way up. After Michin, we're gonna have her go up against people that are more credible, people that are more infused with the fans, and work her way up. And that gives them time to sort of sort out this main event in the women's championship side between Nia Jax and Jade Cargill and Naomi and all that. So that's what I think. I know they're in Charlotte, North Carolina, or Greensboro, I should say, sorry. And it's Charlottesville, but I think that's what's gonna happen. And I hope that happens, but whatever. Any other questions, I guess? Or do you want to go into your part?
I'm thinking if I have any questions for you about the no, the only concern are Money in the Bank like qualifiers usually triple threats?
I think so.
Or do they have okay. Well, I have all my booked as singles, but whatever.
That's fine. I think the Money in the Bank matches usually have 5 or 6 people. That's why I have it as triple threats, so that you have, a lot of people put into the match for each show. But if you put them as singles, that's fine too. I mean, not gonna judge about that. Maybe they'll put them as singles this year. Who knows? But I generally have them as triple threats so that we get more people quickly on the show because once again, we have a few weeks to build up to Money in the Bank, so that's yeah, not that great. Well, unless you have any other questions, we can move on to the next part, which is your part. All right.
Yes.
Break a leg, Mr. Vince Russo.
Okay. So, bro, I'm telling you, bro, we're gonna start off with Solo Sikoa coming out. I don't think John Cena starts off the show. I mean, I know I did this in Raw where the main event guy doesn't start off the show, but I'm gonna try it again. So Solo comes out. He introduces Jeff as the newest Bloodline member. He comes out with Jacob Fatu, but Jacob Fatu is indifferent. Solo still believes he's the head of this faction, and he wants Jacob to be on the same page with him because he thinks that Jacob is trying to lone wolf, no pun intended, himself, and he doesn't. He's trying to, like you said, he doesn't want help from them. And he doesn't ask Jacob to acknowledge him because he doesn't have the Ulafala, but he wants Jacob to be on the same page. And before he can get a response from Jacob, LA Knight comes out and he wants a rematch against Jacob Fatu for the US title. Priest comes out, says he wants in. Everybody starts yelling at each other. Nick Aldis comes out and says he is going to announce a 3-way fight for the #1 contendership for the U.S. title, but not here. He's going to do it at Saturday night's main event, and this is going to be Knight, Priest, and Jeff.
Whoa.
For the #1 contendership. That's my swerve, is that they're going to start breaking up this bloodline because it really is kind of going nowhere, and I think they want to introduce some uncertainty into the bloodline. I think they want to push Jacob Fatu to be this sort of like not Braun Breaker, but almost jeez, man, Brock Lesnar, but not Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Like a Samoan Brock Lesnar. Yes, like a Samoan Brock Lesnar, like a big monster. I think they want to try to separate him from Solo and the bloodline, and I think that's what they're going to do.
Okay.
It's a little bit out there, but I can see them doing that with Jeff especially.
Yeah, I mean, Roman Reigns is on Raw. I guess he's on Raw now. So it makes sense to me that Solo would head up this new bloodline and try to have some tension with Jacob and Jeff. For sure.
According to SmackDown Hotel, Roman is technically on SmackDown.
What? Why didn't Roman just come out and fix this, man? Instead, he's hanging out with freaking CM Punk and the other guy, Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I don't know. They're gonna have to do that at some point. They're gonna have to do some bloodline epilogue. All of these boys have shown up.
For God's sake, how did he even? I don't know, man. Anyway, yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah. All right. Moving on.
So, next one I originally had Ivy Nile in this, and I was like, shit, well, I forgot Ivy Nile is on Raw. So, I have Money in the Bank qualifier match. Alexa Bliss defeats Candice LeRae for a spot. I don't think they're going to start with the Wyatt Sicks just yet, because I think one of them is still out with an injury. So I think they're going to wait until they're all fully healthy, and I think that'll probably be after Money in the Bank, and probably will start at SummerSlam.
Okay.
I think that's a good milestone marker for them to start because at that point we'll probably have the women's title sorted out, and then we'll have space for. Well, I'm assuming at that point the Legado still Phantasma will be broken up. The Bloodline will be on their way out. Finally, thank God. And basically all the heel factions on SmackDown will be dying or dead, and they'll have space for a heel-ish faction with the Wyatt Sicks, and that's where Alexa Bliss will actually start her run with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so you agree that we're gonna start the Wyatt Six? We're gonna start teasing the Wyatt Six at this point, or do you think that they'll start the Wyatt Six teasing around SummerSlam?
SummerSlam, I think right after Money in the Bank, they'll start teasing it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
They're gonna have Alexa Bliss win by herself, is what you're saying.
Yes.
All right.
This
Interesting.
probably should have been triple threat, but I'm going for half points here, man. Going for half points.
All right. I mean, it's definitely interesting, that's for sure. Moving on to the next one.
You can tell that I am a WCW fan because I have a lot of promos in my show. Okay. I went back and forth on if this should be a.
Sorry, that also means Triple H is a WCW mark. Look at how many promos he's putting in both shows, and he only has like 4 or 5 matches in each show. Wild. But
I have Naomi. I was going back and forth between whether this should be Charlotte Flair because I was going to do originally Charlotte confronts Alexa Bliss. If you remember last week, it was a backstage segment right as Charlotte left because she was complaining. She was being a Karen towards Nick Aldis. Alexa Bliss came in and she was like, "Hey, we need to chat about something." And I was tempted to throw that in, but I think that's a red herring because I don't know why they would be in cahoots. But whatever. I know that they like to throw out red herrings. I've learned this. And I think that you need to try to take Occam's razor to things when they try to throw you shit. So anyway, I think Naomi comes out and she basically berates Bianca and Jade Cargill, says that she needs new friends. And then she introduces Nia Jax as her new friend.
Whoa.
Now, Nia, if you remember, won the match against Jade Cargill for the #1 contendership, and we basically start up the same shit that Nia did with Tiffany, where Naomi becomes Nia's not like her lapdog, but kind of like her second-hand person. And this starts by Naomi being interrupted in the middle of her promo by Nia Jax. And Nia saying, "You know what'd be great? I think you should fight Tiffany because I think you need to prove yourself that you don't need Bianca or Jade." I mean, I know that she lost to Jade technically, but I think that she needs to start proving herself as a singles competitor. And I think Nia decides that Naomi should fight Tiffany. Now, Naomi, I think, is going to be a little bit pissed that Nia basically just booked this for her, but she accepts, and the match is confirmed. This, I think, because I know that they love to start running back shit that they've done before, starts the cycle again with Nia Jax, where she gets a lackey, and then the lackey becomes frustrated with her, and then eventually she turns on her, and this, I think, eventually leads to Naomi taking the title. So,
you know what?
I could be wrong, but to me that makes sense. Yeah, because I know they love to run back their shit. I know they love to run back shit that they've done before.
I also like the fact that you're introducing the whole old habits die hard deal with making friends and they're all turning on me, and Nia Jax isn't really gonna turn on me, right? Tiffany turned on her, so Nia's never gonna turn on me, and they're gonna form that friendship. I think this is pretty good, honestly, and it introduces much needed character depth to Nia Jax and Naomi as characters, so I dig this, man. I think this is pretty good. This is gonna be ratings gold. Nice. This is gonna get
hire me. Be hired.
This is gonna get all the people in the seats riled up. This is ratings gold, bro.
Yeah, bro. It's a swerve.
We're gonna have it end, bro. We're gonna have it end with Nia Jax on whatever match. You know that vehicle that oh my god, new
The white Hummer. The white Hummer. The white Hummer.
I don't know that much about WCW, sorry. But I know Vince Russo was in it, and that's it. So, anyway, good stuff. Moving on.
Okay, I do agree that Fraxium is being booked hot right now, and I think feeding them Los Garza is probably the best way forward. Like you said, and I agree with Los Garza and Legados del Fantasma are heading for a breakup, and I think feeding them to Fraxium, they kind of go into this match. Santos is like, hey guys, gotta get a lock in because, Fraxium's like kind of hot. They need to, and he's basically arguing with them the entire match as to what they should do. This leads to a distraction. Fraxium wins with a roll up, and this leads to the breakup of Legado del Fantasma, and Fraxium continue winning. I think this makes sense because you want to book Fraxium hot, and you want Phantasma to start breaking down, and this serves both purposes.
Okay, yeah.
Two birds, one stone.
Yes, definitely agree with that. No questions there. Moving on to the women's side now.
Okay, we do the final part of that is a very old picture of Zelina Vega. Holy shit, bro. I almost did not recognize her, and I was like, that has to be a very old picture.
Yeah, I'm scouring the internet for pictures of Zelina Vega, and lo and behold, this is a high quality PNG of Zelina Vega that I put on here. And in fact,
I hope you're on a VPN.
in fact, I would say most of the pictures here that I put are old because, as you notice on the John Cena promo, that John Cena is literally just the face version, not the heel. So, but anyway, do continue.
You should put a picture of her on the motorbike. Did you see that?
Wait, what?
Okay. I will. My friend sent me this because he's from Puerto Rico and he's like very in with the culture. And he was like, "Yo, did you see this like championship belt like photo shoot that she did?" And she's like literally topless on a bike with like the belt on her. And I'm like, they're never gonna beat the Gunner allegations. Like, come on, like we need to stop.
You know how DX are,
You're not beating the Gunner allegations anymore.
You know how DX are, they had China.
Well, I mean, that championship, that U.S. championship belt has been used for a lot of inappropriate purposes. Like, I mean, Logan Paul, like, goddamn. We need to like sanitize that shit every time someone wins it. You need to sanitize it.
Are you going into the spiel of how the mighty have fallen and just be like the U.S. title used to be great and now it's being used
like I'm not gonna say that we never had Gunner allegations in professional wrestling. Okay, there always were good. Actually, if anything, they were. I think it was more accepted because it was more explicit, right? Like you had a nightgown match, and like that was it. Right, that was the Gooner section, right? It was kind of like, okay, here's your Gooner section, and then we get back to the rest of the show. But now it's like it's pervasive.
It's like subtle,
and it's
more subtle.
It's subtle, yes, and it kind of leaves you like, are they really like trying to do something, or is like this just kind of unintentional? Like, what's going on here? And it's very like
it's a swerve, bro. It's actually.
I'm a very straight up person, and I'm like, if you want to just have Gooner content, just come out and do it. Like, don't try to hide it. Like, at least don't play me for being an idiot. Like, at least just come out and be like, yeah, we're gonna have a bra and panties match. Cool. Okay. Thanks for telling me. Because at this point, I don't know if you actually want to be Gooner or not. You're giving me very mixed signals here, and I'm confused. But anyway. I'm not a Gooner. I hate when
he wants the Attitude Era back. All right, let him have his 19.
I partially do.
All right.
I partially do, yes, but I also dislike when they try to like the same thing goes for when they try to sneak in like when they're trying to sneak in like real life angles as well into matches.
Oh.
And they try to keep it subtle, like when they're talking about like when they use Logan Paul in like his YouTuber shit, and I'm like, bro, like I get it, that's where he's from, but like if you want to use it. If not, don't like make one or two comments about it off the side. Like just use it, bro. If you want to go in on the real life stuff, then go in on the real life stuff, man.
Well, okay, we can probably like discuss this another time, but Triple H said something in an interview about how culture and the world has changed so much due to the fact that we have access to the internet, and because we have such easy access to who these people are, and the fact that we know that wrestling is scripted and there are scripts and these are not people, these are characters, then we can sort of blur the line between the person behind the character and the character itself, right? And that's what he pointed at, and he agrees with you that it should be more gimmick based and they shouldn't touch a lot of real life stuff, but it's hard to control, especially at this day and age with the internet and the culture and all that. So yeah, it's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. on how to beat the Gunner allegations. But anyway, I think Selena Vega wins this
Zelina
despite
wins, okay. Yeah.
interference from Chelsea and Piper.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Alba is part of the Chelsea Green administration.
And then Zelina has now made her way through the entire administration. She did what Hillary Clinton could not. She defeated her opponent for a U.S. based title.
Yeah. Well,
So
there you go. No questions for this one. Moving on to this other match.
all right. Okay, so why is this the number one contendership? Okay, so I think that DIY having beat up the Machine Guns and having beat up Fraxium, I think that Nick Aldis, I think there was probably a backstage segment, or maybe it's done by a commentary, decides that, listen, I need a team that can go up against DIY and basically be competitive with them, because DIY has already beaten Motor City Machine Guns. They didn't beat Fraxium, no, did they? They didn't. I think they just beat them
Who,
up, right?
DIY or
Yeah.
DIY? I don't. Oh, yes, they have. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, so I think at this point, The Miz goes back to all this, Mello comes with him, fucking flashes that obviously plastic Andre the Giant chain that he has. That has to be plastic, man. I don't know. It looks plastic to me, but it could be gold. I don't know. It's the ugliest chain I've ever seen in my life.
It's
Mello,
a
come
swerve.
on, bro.
It's
There's something
actually
better.
1 carat gold, and
I wouldn't be surprised,
he's
honestly.
wearing chain. Okay.
I think Mello don't Miz win this thanks to miscommunication from DIY, and unfortunately DIY you start the whole Johnny Gargano Tommaso Ciampa thing again.
Miz communication. I like that. Get it? Miz communication. The Miz in the match. Okay.
DIY will not be booked in a win until Tommaso Ciampa grows his fucking beard back.
It's funny because when we were watching a lot of episodes of Smackdown, Mike would notice Tommaso Ciampa just having this nice bushy beard, and when he cut it, he was so upset. It's so funny.
I don't know who it was. Like, he came out, and I was like, who the fuck is that? Oh, that's Tommaso Ciampa. What the fuck?
Look, man.
And I was like, he looks like he's 75 without the beard.
I don't know, man. Maybe Tommaso Ciampa thought his beard was being bushy and stuff, and he decided to cut it down, man. Give him a break. Come on.
I was like, he looks exactly how I would picture a man going into Stop and Shop at 8:30 a.m. in Malden. He looks exactly like that kind of guy.
Deli aisle?
He's in the deli
For
aisle,
some
yes. Yeah, he did actually train at the gym that I used to go to, I think, in Malden. And that's partially why I support him, but I think they need to run back that Johnny Gargano to Master Ciampa feud in NXT.
Well,
Trips that was his thing, and he loves to do repeats of what he's already run, so
Yeah, I mean, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, they love to reuse everything in their careers and just.
it's just the way it is. And
I don't think this will happen because DIY hasn't gone over as a tag team, and part of it is because SmackDown's tag team division is not that great when it comes to connecting with the fans, even with their booking.
props to them for propping up the tag team division and putting some focus on them, more so than Raw. So I think if DIY are gonna break up, they need to have at some point the fan support. It's
well, my counterpoint to this is that, like, the reason the brand split doesn't work for tag teams is because you only have what? You have DIY, Motor City Machine Guns, now Fraxium, Carmelo Hayes and The Miz, and Luis Garza, basically. As far as men's like tag teams go, I mean, you also have Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. They're out. Oh, you also have Pretty Deadly as well. So I guess you do have like a decent number of tag teams on SmackDown, but it seems like they never give any tag team like enough, or entry profits too, enough time with the belt. Like, they're only holding it for like a month or two before it gets taken off them and put somewhere else. And maybe that's just them trying to see who gets over, but I'm like, they're not gonna get over in a month if you never book them in title contention fights, or like, it just seems like I think they're just trying to like crapshoot it, and they're like, let's just see who sticks.
You can't crapshoot it. Like, you cannot.
If you need to pick one and then try to build them up, and then if that doesn't work, then you change and you pivot. You don't just be like, okay, this this month DIY is going to go over. I'm going to make them the champions. Okay, this month it's going to be Street Profits. Okay, this month it's good. Like, you got to pick one, stick with it, and if it's not working, then you swerve, you pivot, and then you try to get another team over. But it seems like they're doing it. Like, it's back and forth. You know, it's very hard to keep track.
I will say this though, at least they have some relationship or establish some relationship between the different tag teams. If you remember, Nick Aldis had a marker and he had a board with a bunch of tag teams on it, and he says this is how each team is related to each other, and he draws a line between them and stuff like that. And that was pretty cool. But I do agree with you that a lot of tag team division right now has been much of a crapshoot, and especially with how Fraxium are getting over and they're being booked hot right now, it's kind of hard to see their future if the rest of the tag team division is kind of a crapshoot, as you said. So yeah, that is that. I don't really have a question. So I guess let's move on to the Money in the Bank qualifying match. And
Okay.
yeah.
This is interesting. I have Andrade and Santos Escobar. These two have a little bit of history, and I think that this would be a good fight. There probably is another third person here. Again, I'm going for half points with these now. And I think Santos actually wins this one. And the reason I think he wins is because then he can go back and be like, see, bro, like, look at how easy it was, right? I beat Andrade. And I know they've been trying to build up Andrade a little bit, but I think if you make it like a little bit fluky to where maybe, like, I don't know, maybe like the ref goes down or something, or basically he wins in some fluky way, I think you can save Andrade while also forwarding the downfall of Legado Still Fantasma.
Okay, so you're gonna slow burn the turn basically, and instead establish some tension between Santos and Los Garza, and then just slow burn that.
Yes.
So let's move on to the next one.
Okay, semi-main event. You have Naomi versus Tiffany Stratton. I personally believe that Nia Jax regains the title at Saturday night's main event. And I think that Tiffany wins this by Nia Jax trying to interfere at first. She gets thrown from ringside by the ref, and then Tiffany pins Naomi. But I think that eventually Tiffany will drop it in Saturday night's main event to Nia Jax.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Because, no offense, I know you're a mark for Tiffany, but
Well,
she's kind of become boring.
yes, I will agree with that. Yes, as a baby, she is boring. I will agree with you on that. As a heel, she is really good, but as a baby face, yeah, not that great.
Barbie entrance at WrestleMania, and that was it. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But after that, it's been very boring.
Well, I think part of it is because when she came in, she had this Barbie girl, sort of Valley girl aesthetic, and once she got to the main roster, Triple H was like, yeah, no, we need to tone
It down a little bit. So as a result, she became kind of a generic or basic version of the gimmick than she was in NXT.
I mean, she needs to go back to being a heel as soon as possible. And maybe putting it, as you said, would probably put her on the path there. But I don't know, man. I think they're going to have her stick around as a champion and a baby face for quite a while. So, that's it, I guess. Anything else before you want to move on to the main event or the main segment or the last segment of the show? Whatever you want to call it.
No, like I said, I think Nia Jax regains her title. I think she's better as a heel champion. I think,
Yeah.
As much as we like to clown on Nia Jax, anti-vax Jax, breaking people's ribs, I think she does have valid weight. No pun intended. Okay, I'm not.
Oh, boy.
I think she has a valid. She's a really good heel.
You're really
And
acting like Russo on this one.
She's really good as a heel with the title.
Okay.
So
She's kind of like a high school bully. If you think about it. Her as champion is kind of like a high school bully for sure. And
one of those, she's one of those champions that's really, it was kind of like Roman Reigns. Like, she's one of those champions that's really good to use to build up someone else. Because if they beat them, then you're like, oh shit, she's actually really good, Which I know Tiffany technically did. No. Well, she technically did, yes, but she cashed in Money in the Bank on her. So.
yeah, okay, that makes sense. I don't want Nia Jax to be a champion, but if you want her to be a champion, that's fine too. That's why you
I think
have
it makes
different
sense.
opinions. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, last segment, John Cena coming out to the ring.
Big match, John Cena, John Gina.
Wabadoo.
Big chilling John. Wabadoo. So I think Mr. Wabadoo Beijing comes out. He says, I'm the real last champion. After I dealt with Randy Orton, there's no one left that can meet me on my level, right? And I apologize for ruining wrestling. He makes some rib at Ric Flair because he's in Carolina and he beat his record.
Yeah.
So he's probably gonna say something about Ric Flair. And he says, I'm ruining wrestling, but you did this to yourselves. Then R-Truth comes out and he's like, I can meet you on your level. I mean, look, we're about the same height. And Cena's like, bro, what the fuck are you doing right now, man? And then R-Truth goes on about, little Jimmy and saying how John was his childhood hero. And R-Truth wants to finally, fight John before he retires. And then John Cena, he's like, yeah, you know what? I can probably beat the shit out of this guy very easily. I want an easy payday. So he agrees. And then Randy Orton comes in, RK's both of them. And then he's on top. And that's how the show ends.
Wow. So, are you saving R-Truth versus Randy Orton for the next episode of SmackDown, or are you
probably the go home show before Saturday night's main event?
okay?
I might do it then. Yeah, and then have R-Truth win that, and then Cena wins on Saturday night's main event. Obviously.
Interesting. Okay, yeah. So you're not also gonna have Randy Orton go after the Authority or Nick Aldis as well. You're just gonna have him just focus.
I do, and I want to add this as a addendum. I think that the officials go after Randy, like you said, and they try to restrain him. I think that this prompts Nick Aldis to suspend Randy.
Randy Orton. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you start a storyline of like Randy showing up and RKOing like John Cena or RKOing whoever John Cena's going up against, and almost like a Kevin Owens, but not really.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. All right. Well, anything else before we get out of here? And
Do you want to go over the results? Oh wait, no, it's not even next
No.
week yet. I'm sorry, we didn't do.
This is the first episode of SmackDown that we are booking, kiddo. If you want to do Raw, we'll just have to wait for the next episode of probably next week on Raw, which is gonna happen next week or this weekend. When the video comes out, you will know who won that. But for now, this is the first episode, so you're gonna have to wait to see who wins. And that is about it for probably next week on SmackDown. Unless, Mike, you have anything else you would like to add before we close it out here? No?
I want to say this that I think Pretty Deadly have a kind of a banger intro song.
Yeah, because they remind you of Disco Inferno.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you want Disco Inferno to come out and manage Pretty Deadly?
I would that would pop me so hard, man.
Just
I don't
imagine.
know what Disco is doing nowadays, but that would pop me so hard, man. I would bark instantly for that, bro.
Yeah, definitely. That would get the ratings up. That would get the people in the seats riled up. Pretty Deadly has no heat, but you put the guy known for doing disco moves in WCW up with them. Audience goes up through the roof. That's for sure. Okay, well, on that note, we'll see you Grapperinos next week. But until then,
Thank you for ordering a blue cheese pizza. Well, probably next week on SmackDown at Grapperinos. And remember, if you want some fresh, oven baked, crusty wrestling content, then stop on by Grapperinos and order yourself some content you can grapple with. We'll see you next time.